All right, good afternoon and welcome to University School. Here we are. This is our week 2 of 3 exploring faith during the COVID-19 crisis. Last week we had a great time talking to Rabbi Rosenbaum of Temple or Synagogue Emanu-El, and this week we're pleased to have with us Dr. Ghazala Javed from the Central Mosque of Charleston. And we last saw you a couple years ago when we came for midday prayers, and we always have such nice hospitality and a great time seeing you all. And, you know, considering the circumstances, we're sorry we can't visit you in person, but it's really interesting that the 3 Abrahamic religions are in a period where they're all observing high holidays or major holidays right now. And we are looking to get some insights that we can share with our students about how our Charlestons and the world's Muslims, you know, observing Ramadan, which just started last week, and how is your community staying together in this period. So we appreciate you sharing your time and presenting and then answering some questions for us. So I'm going to turn it over to you. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Ghazala Javed and I'm a physician. I am only a lay member of the Central Mosque. So it'll be very hard to fill in the shoes of the rabbi last week who was actually ordained to talk about the religion, and then next week you have Pastor Jeremy, who I know very well, and again they are right from the religious institutions. Our imam is again, since the mosque or masjid is closed, is also praying at home, but is available for Zoom talk, but this afternoon was not available, and I'm trying to do my best to give you, as a practicing Muslim, how we are practicing this month of Islam during the month of Ramadan during this pandemic. Right from the bat, I'll tell you that it has made very little difference to me as a person, because both professionally, because I work part-time, and then also in the practice of Islam, because we do a lot from home. But it has affected other people who spend more time at the mosque. Before I go into the practice details into this particular moment, just a little overview about the month of Ramadan. Again, some of you may be very well aware of it. You visited the mosque and may have read about it. And then there was this little video that I sent. Getting to the holy months of all the 3 different religions, there are certain periods which are dedicated for praying or connecting with God a little bit more. And it's kind of a refresher time during Christmas for Christians, during Easter, and similarly for Jews, there are different times of the year that they celebrate. For us, this is the 9th month of the lunar calendar, and it is called Ramadan, like Mr. Kreutner mentioned, and it is a month of fasting. There's a lot to be said about the month, but the most important thing is the Quran, our religious scripture. There's a Quran there, and it's a 500 to 600 pages book that was started to reveal during this month, and then it went on for 23 years and the entire book was compiled. But because of the origin, it is said that this was the revelation, and there are different thoughts to it, that the entire book was actually already prepared by God, our creator and the author of the Quran, but it was revealed to human gradually. So it may have been all revealed in the month of Ramadan, and that's why the significance of reading the Quran in Ramadan. There are 30 chapters, and there are 30 days of the month, 29 to 30 days, depending on the lunar calendar. So it is divinely guided to read a chapter a day, or to divide it into 1/5 to read it after every prayer, so that takes 10 minutes. So there are a lot of formulas to complete it. What is really recommended is reading it, understanding it, and practicing it. Because the word Ramadan is mentioned only once in the entire Quran. but the Quran is a code of life, and it is as a practicing Muslim, it dawned on me through my adulthood. I used to face, I used to ask for answers to my question, either to my teachers or my parents or any elder, different sources we had to get information. But as an adult, when I did not have, I was independent, then my source became the Quran. And I am so fortunate to have found that as a resource and to really believe in it and use it to my advantage. So that's what it is. It's a code of life. I mean, it's not something that you read every minute of your life or something. You can incorporate it into your daily living, and then at certain times really rely on it for different situations. And there have been actually mentioned in the Quran that because of during the years of revelation, there were situations when people could not reach the mosque for prayers, and there were illnesses, and it was there are passages that stay home in time of danger, stay home. So what it's saying is God is everywhere. It is a feeling, it's a concept, it's your knowledge that God is somewhere up in the heavens or around you. It's a spirit, it's a spiritual feeling, and so it has been alluded to in the Quran. Now, one other factor that is very important for us in understanding of the Quran is that the Quran was revealed, which is in actually the video I sent to what we call the last prophet after Jesus, Prophet Muhammad, who was born in Mecca, very similar places where all the prophets were born: Adam, Eve, Jesus, Noah. I mean, Middle East was actually the central part of the world. I think God chose that area, and then from there, religion spread east and west. So that is hub in a way, and all the prophets were there. I've lost my train of thought. So the Prophet Muhammad in that Middle East area, in Mecca area, before Islam, it was Christianity was the major religion. And prior to that was Judaism, and then Christianity, and Islam came along as the third in line, I would say. And it is pretty a continuum for me of the same teachings and how it is interpreted in different ways. But he used to, in the Arab world, there was a lot of paganism, and Prophet Muhammad, just because, of course, it was meant to be, he felt that there was something more he needed, some more information, and how the Quran was revealed to him. And as it was revealed in chapters or verses, he practiced it, like, so he put it into action, and everyone who was living with him during those years, he practiced it for 23 years of his life. He was 40 when the chapter was started being revealed to him through angel Gabriel, and it was started being, and for 23 years, he died at the age of 63. So it was 40 when it's, and all the information was there. He went through wars, he went through illnesses, he went through migrations, and how he handled it with calmness, with coolness, and putting others before him, that actually is the core essence of a Muslim life, to be a community person, a family person, and then, of course, knowing your limitations and your humbleness and leaving everything to God in the end. Here I will give an example that we do pray, we do ask God for help, but we have to do our own part. And for everything, like in a pandemic, we do have to take our precautions, but in the end, we do pray that God relieve us from the disease or keep us safe or guide us so that we have all the information we need, all the protective gear we need. So the teaching of the Prophet was that one of the gentlemen asked him a question, that if we rely on God, I'm entering the mosque, can I just leave my camel while I'm praying and God will protect and the camel will stay? That was the mode of transportation at that time. in the 7th century. The prophet, peace be upon him, replied, "No, tie your camel before you go in to pray. You have to take your precaution. God will not just shower things without you doing your duties and realizing that yes, he is there, but you have responsibilities as well." And in this month of Ramadan, when we try and review the Quran, the message is humanity. I mean, of course, your prayers and your rituals are there for yourself, but so the 4 things which again came out of reading the Quran is thanking God for what each one of us have, and enjoying that. It may be anything. I mean, if we break our fast with water or date, a small piece, we still have to be grateful and consider other people who may not even have that. Of course, there are many people who can feast on it. So thankfulness is all day long we are fasting and there's food all around us, but we are not reaching out for it. This is the power of knowing that you have a creator, someone you can turn to, and someone who is looking after you. So then when we finally eat, we are very grateful to whatever we can get. Of course, there are people who complain and want more, especially children sometimes. But then when you do learn, I mean, you are enjoying the food and you really know. And then on the other side, there are people who don't get to break the fast. They have no food. So then you try and give charity. You can give charity and help people throughout the year. But we are encouraged to set the pattern in this month and then carry it on for the 12 months and then the next 11 months and get a reminder. So and then you are blessed more. I mean, this is the teaching that for every charity you give God, instead of 1 blessing, he may give you 10 different types of blessings. This month also gives us the opportunity for optimism, that God is there at the end of the day. I mean, the time comes and there is time to eat. Nothing lasts forever. So we are encouraged to eat, and when the time comes to eat, really eat and then pray. So nourishment and good food and all that, there is mention of all kinds of food in the Quran. Jason, let me know when I have to stop and the time, because I can go on and on being in this month. How much time do I have?
So we've got an hour, so we have like 25 minutes for question, which means probably going like another 10 minutes or so.
10 minutes or so, right. So these are the key factors. What happened is just today, I don't know if you all can see, but no, maybe this is not clear, but this article just popped up as of April 28th, a survey done how Muslims feel about Ramadan in 2020. And let me just read this, that this report is part of the Faith in Time of the Coronavirus Epidemic. And what they did is, are people optimistic? So hope is a very big thing in Islam. I mean, to despair is lack of faith. To be hopeful is part of faith. And that's what, so what this brief report is meant to describe the attitude and behavioral intention of Muslims for Ramadan. And so they did a survey of 450 Muslims from all over the world to see the attitude this Ramadan compared to previous Ramadan. And the sample of Muslims were diverse in ethnicity, education, and age. Most participants reported that even though the mosques are closed, they are going to pray 5 times a day, and that is 77% said that. Now, having said that, the percentage, if we say 50% males, 50% females, we do pray at home quite a lot. I mean, so the percentage going, so it fits in. And then they asked, how is the relationship with God, with Allah? And 55% said it's going to be very intimate. So it is more than 50%, but not a very high. So, so the first thing they were saying is the optimism, the optimistic Muslims They are encouraged to be optimistic even during challenging and unprecedented times. The prophet, peace be upon him, said that optimism is a good word. It's a kind word. And fortunately, many Muslims from around the world have internalized this message of the prophet and of the Quran to be optimistic, despite the current global situation. They do say that they will not have access to the masjid, but they believe that this Ramadan will be better than last year. It is the month of the Quran, and people will have more time to engage with the Quran compared to the previous years, working from more than 80% of the respondents are expected to read more Quran than last Ramadan. And just a quote that captured the general sentiment of the optimism is, it will give a chance to improve ourselves and really focus on our relationship with God, with Allah. It's just Allah and you, and usually that's a great opportunity. We will eventually focus more on our behavior and reflect on our inward state. One thing that is recommended during Ramadan is really to reflect on your inadequacies or your limitations, or maybe bad things you've done, sinful things you've done that's not really the way God wants us to behave. So to reflect on that in the last 10 days or any time during Ramadan, and this can be done anytime during find solitude and pray. I mean, you do pray in solitude, but other than that, extra solitude to reflect on things. This is not bowing down and doing the rituals of prayer, but it's kind of a meditation. And you can do it at home or you can do it at mosque. So this people are saying we have more time to do that. And of course, in general, some people have really taken this opportunity. Like, I would never have had my son with me. He flew in from New York when he was told that he can work from home. And this is such a blessing that we eat our morning meal together and break our fast. I mean, this has never happened ever since he left high school and went to Clemson for his college and then his master's in New York and stayed for a job there. And this is God's send. So I am particularly happy during this Ramadan, relating to the rest of the so anyway, these are the sentiments. The other thing they talk about in the survey, yes, they plan to be more generous and help others. They also said, of course, also one other thing they said, who is optimistic? And the reason is those who read the Quran. I think this is kind of a reputation. However, those who reported feeling they need a community to thrive this Ramadan were generally less optimistic. But then they did say that they will go to the video and other forms to connect with other people. So, all right. Have an intimate conversation with God and practice gratitude. So thankfulness is very important for, and then create a virtual community to feel connected. I will stop here. My son would like to connect with the students and say a few words at his, this is Arif.
No, I just wanted to say, I mean, even I would say the main thing that has been the impact in a positive way from all this is that, like, for a lot of people like my age, like out of college, obviously we're working from home, so it can be like 40 to 60 hours per week where you're just in front of the computer, and it's like really hard to remember to take breaks and stuff. And even if you're not like doing work, like usually you would break up your day by going to like a friend's house or going out to like movies, restaurants, whatever. But I think the good thing about the religious aspect during Ramadan is that it provides a structure and like a certain segmented way to break up the day, which I like maybe wouldn't do otherwise. So I think that's like an unseen benefit. And then sort of the sadder part of it, like, because I came from New York and I know like a lot of people there are like really staying in their apartments, which are very small. And especially during this time, people would use like the religious gatherings for eating and stuff as like a time to build community and have like a sort of positive social gathering. And they can't do that now. But I think having all the virtual meetings and stuff sort of helps people come together in a way where like usually maybe you would go to a bunch of things with people that you don't want to see, or like sometimes you would go to more things than you actually want to. But then if you're just doing it virtually, you might cut it down to only the people you actually want to see, which might be an unseen benefit as well.
Right. It's a good time to kind of sort of take off some of the unnecessary things. Actually, that has really helped. My not driving and doing things virtually, thank you very much, has really helped. And as he was speaking about the community getting together to eat, there are people who are giving food to drive, people who are driving. I mean, sharing is going on. There are ways. So it did take a few days to settle down, but people have found a lot of different ways to communicate, and there is a blessing in it. And each one of us will have to find the goodness in it too. There is some disturbance, some change, but for the better. And I will end it with this verse in the Quran that always encourages us: is with every difficulty, God has also given ease. So it goes kind of hand in hand, that he's so merciful and so kind that he will take care of any troubles that has come to our path, towards our way. Yes. So I'll stop here and take any questions.
Dr. Javed, thank you for that introduction and overview. And I'm really grateful that your
son joined
to join us. Trying to make sense of this, we have our families, and so what we've learned as families helps us cope with this extraordinary circumstances. And then our school has traditions, like, we believe in serving other people, so we had a plan to make sure we were serving people during this, and that we care about each other, making sure we're caring about each other. So it's important for us just learning about Islam and learning about Ramadan, but we're also learning how the Muslim faith, with its resiliency for being around for such a long time, helps people cope with crisis. And it provides guidance for that. And you don't have to be a Muslim to say, wow, I really liked what Dr. Javed's son said, and I think I remember that, and that's okay. So I wanted to thank you for that. That was really nice. So if you can use the participants button and do the hand raising, that will cue you up, and then we can, I'll call on you, and then you can unmute and turn your video on and ask Dr. Javed your question or leave your video off. So I'm looking for hands up now. Let's get some questions going.
And these are some of the books. I wanted to, I failed to mention that the Ramadan ends with this celebration, and the stamps are out, which is called Eid al-Fitr. But there's another Eid after Hajj. So.
Oh, good. All right. Upper school, looking for you to get in line as well too. Matthew, did you have your question?
So I was wondering, Mr. Clayton was saying earlier how you guys could eat a little bit of bread and water. So is that all you can eat and drink, is just water and a little bit of bread, or is there anything you can eat during fasting?
No, I was actually mentioning that there are some less fortunate people who may have very little to eat, but after such a long period of not eating, even that is as good to them as anything else. Imagine, not having anything, and then you get water when you're thirsty. You've been on a trip and you've run out of your water bottle, and then finally when you get water somewhere, I'm sure all of us have experienced that we wanted water, but we couldn't reach it in time and had to wait and develop our patience. And when it finally comes, that water is more enjoyable than when you are just a little thirsty and you go to the fridge and get your water. So similarly, the act of fasting. And let me back up and also say that this is a God-sent blessing. It is not just for Muslims, but all religions from time to time have been instructed by God, because we believe all the teaching to Adam and Eve, who were the first man and woman, came from God. So the first people were fasting too. I mean, as far back as you can, Moses, the generation of Moses, and then Jesus, Christianity, there's fasting during Lent. So fasting is encouraged. And now if people even do not have any religion, the medical theories are there to say that fasting cleanses your body, a period of not eating. Even why is the word breakfast in the morning? Because you're fasting the whole night and you break your morning, you break your night fast with a morning meal, and that's your breakfast. So the point I was making there was that how everything tastes so good and how you can, but yes, we can eat anything we want, and the sky's the limit. I mean, I can show you some pictures of my table that my oldest son could not join because he's working at MUSC. So we sent in some pictures and hope that, someday he does make it once a week. So yeah, we try to feast it as much as God has given us to our capacity.
Thank you. Frank?
I was just wondering, like, Muslims, don't they have to go to, like, an annual trip to Mecca? I was just wondering if anyone was doing, like, a virtual Mecca trip or anything, because I was just wondering.
Very, very smart question. So Mecca trip, now this is, I will have to give you a little background that there are 5 obligatory things in Islam. The one is having the faith in one God and saying that there is the last messenger, Muhammad. We believe everything prior to Jesus, but then also say that Muhammad, who got the Quran revealed to him, was our last prophet and our teacher as well, reinforcing what the previous religions have taught us. So the faith is most important. The second is the prayers, the 5 times a day, which we can do. The third is charity, which we have to do throughout the year. But if we do it in Ramadan, it's especially blessed. And the fourth is fasting in Ramadan. And the last is the Hajj, which is once in a lifetime. And only those people are required to go who have no debts, who have no dependents, and can do it easily. So that is an obligation, but it has a lot of conditions that you just don't have to do it if you cannot fulfill those conditions. I was fortunate, I've been once and I've done it at a good time. And it doesn't have to be in Ramadan. So yes, it's closed, but it'll open up. It's only done in the 12th month. Actually, that's how the 2 festivals of Islam are spread out. One is in Ramadan, which is Eid al-Fitr, and the next is Eid al-Adha, which will be after Hajj, which will be in the 12th month. And hopefully things will open up. But say, because it's once in a lifetime, it be like a lot of things. Some Olympics are being canceled for 2020 and will happen in 2021 or some other games. So if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. That's the last of the obligation. And God says, do what is easy. There's another verse in the Quran. God does not want anything to be difficult on it. We make it difficult. If we don't know, if we don't have proper knowledge and impose we have to do it. And some people think of it as that way. But if you really get the full knowledge or ask people that these are my limitations, then you'll be satisfied that if you are limited, you don't have to do it. There is one thing, though, that can be done throughout the year. Being a sacred mosque there, people do like to go and pray there. Like you can visit the Vatican and people feel, I've been to the Vatican, people feel, I've been to Jerusalem, I've prayed there at the Grand Mosque there, the Al-Aqsa. So you feel good going to that mosque any time of the, yes, you are prohibited because the Saudi borders are closed, and even Mecca, the mosque is closed. Except for the cleaners. So they are saying, look, the maintenance guys are the most blessed. They have access to the mosque. But that is what God desires. But if these are God sent, or whatever, some people do say that everything is with God's consent. I mean, the illness is there, but He has a cure. So there is a verse in the Quran, whatever illness is there is a cure. So if it is an illness that is there, if you're praying at home, you're getting the same blessings, because we want to go, but it's closed. So you get the same blessing. So that concept that what is in your limit, you can only do that. And God is all merciful and all kind and all accepting. So that it does not have to be a particular set of rituals that will get you God's grace and mercy. So there are limitations. Very good question. You guys are knowledgeable. So good. Killian, I think Killian was asking something. Why does it say Deutsches Frank? Are you German?
So Frank likes he likes Germany. So
Oh, sprechen Sie Deutsch?
Ein bisschen.
Ah, einer bitte. Russian, what is it?
Frank, you can go now.
Billion?
What?
I'm gonna let Frank go, and then Killian, put your hand up virtually.
Oh, sorry, I forgot to lower my hand for my other question.
All right, so Kessler, you good? You're up.
Hi, thank you so much for doing this. We really appreciate it.
Oh, you're so welcome.
So I just had a quick question. Since most organized religion in the world is like facing a deep decrease all around the world, with most people straining away from that, is Ramadan, since it is in this time of isolation, is Ramadan helping strengthen the ties in the Islamic community, because more people have time to focus on their faith and think about things because they're not necessarily going to work or going to school? Like, I know for Easter, a lot of Christians, like, their faith was strengthened because it's a hard time and people look to religion. So is that happening with Ramadan?
Yes, the answer is yes, and I'll elaborate on it, but I wanted to, you started off with something that I did not catch. I think this is what you were saying, that about the strength. What was your first opening sentence? Do you remember?
How organized religion all around the world is facing a deep decline, and how most people are going away from like massive parts of religion.
Right, right. So that part of the question is very. I'm glad you started with that. That will need a little clarification. That I think the Pew research has shown that in general, organized religion, like 60% of Christianity, I have to pull up, but yeah, there is a decline from previous practicing, but I don't, if we go to the numbers of practicing or the fastest growing religion, then Islam is number one. And I don't think there is a decline in Islam in terms of numbers, but there's also there is a decline in Christianity. If one is going up, then the other has to be a lower. Yeah, there is a decline, right, Jason? We'll have to pull up those numbers. In terms of practicing, if so, you take the overall body and then what percentage are practicing, again, that there are reports and there may be a decline, but I don't know about Islam, in particular with the growing numbers, the percentage or the total body may be the same, the percentage may be static. Strengthening in this month is exemplary, and it's always is. I mean, it's just people do the majority, even if it's 60%, so the majority of Muslims do take advantage of this month, and oh my God, the mosques are filled for people who want to pray, and we have divided Ramadan into 3 phases by the scholars. The first 10 days is asking God for mercy, for his mercy. The second is for his forgiveness. And whenever we say, God forgive us, we also ask our fellow human beings, if we've made any mistakes, please, if we've hurt you knowingly or unknowingly, please forgive us. And that's what and the third is, this is very important concept for us, that we need to all unite in heaven, in an afterlife all together. And so third is asking for forgiveness from hellfire. That's a very important concept for us to, like, you will be punished if you don't do the good things in this world, and you do wrong things. So the choice is yours. And this survey actually is telling me that there is unity and people are reaching out and not even helping. There is an example locally that when they are the Shifa clinic, that they just are pouring food out for the community. It doesn't have to be just for Muslims. Whichever coming, like I love to give food to my neighbors if I can, especially boxes of dates. So the thing that comes about date is it's a very wholesome food, and there's a lot of it in the Middle East where Islam originated. So eating dates during our breaking of the fast during sunset and eating it at the time of sunrise or dawn when we start, it really gives you a lot of energy. I've never taken a day off from work because of fasting. I've always been able to, but I have paid very strong. I've focused on nutrition to keep going and sleep and all that. And you have to adjust that way. So dates are important. Nutrition is important, but community spirit, no matter who, neighbors, after family, neighbors, and the greater community is very important. Online donations and taking care of the war-ravaged areas, so important.
Thank you for that question and answer. You know, the thing that we've learned from exploring all these houses of worship over the years is that, you know, some faiths operate differently. You know, our school is based at a Methodist church, and 10 years ago they had you know, like a weekly service on Wednesdays, and that sort of like trickled away, and they don't have it anymore. But Muslims, you know, ask prayers 5 times a day, and this part about sacrifice, you know, during Ramadan, sometimes it seems in a culture, and this is a lesson we should all pull away, is whether it's your family or your school or an organization you belong to, sometimes when something asks a lot of you, you end up respecting it, and your tie to it gets to be a lot stronger. So, you know, people who are, you know, the Muslim faith, it seems to be growing. It's not declining the way mainline Protestantism is across Europe and the world. It's just interesting, sort of adding on to that.
And one of the reasons I think is that it's very practical. I mean, I migrated from Asia, from Pakistan here, and because there's so much, like I said, that it hasn't made so much difference, the pandemic also, there's so much we do from home, and how it's on one-on-one, the person who leads the prayer, the imam, is there, and there are schools and teaching and all that, but there's a lot of emphasis on reading the Quran yourself, getting the knowledge and practicing it and passing it on too. But it's such a one-on-one relationship that I think that makes it very easy to practice. And I think it's an evolution. That's what I feel, that if you look at the book of the what is it called, the Torah, and then the Bible, which has not been preserved in its full form, but they were only saying how to worship God. But the Quran is a way of life. It's a practical way. And of course, I mean, people learn. There are a lot of different ways. You don't have to read. Sometimes you feel like God has different ways of guiding you, and you don't even have to say you're a Muslim or a Christian or a Jew. And those are names, and you can just feel that and do things and acknowledge that there is something higher than you. Because actually the fact of the fasting, when this month comes, it just becomes so natural. I mean, it just goes with the flow. God, and if I were to just plan it myself, I have to fast. But it's God's plans, we feel. It's God's instructions, and that's what makes it easy. And you just get that strength by knowing someone is there that you're doing it for. So I don't know if I'm boring you, but sorry about that.
No, it's all important to make sense of. Pi, your question is next.
Hi, thank you for coming. I just wanted to ask, what is the best way for us to help out within our communities, to help out the religious institutions? What do you think would be the best way?
A very profound question. You are saying, as you say, your religion is one religion, to help out other that is not of your faith, some other religion institution?
Yeah, just I mean, specifically, say mosques. What is the best way to help out, like the Central Mosque of Charleston? What would you say? It's a good way to help out.
I think by appreciating that there are that all religion is good. I mean, the basic is that all religion teaches good things. People make wrong choices, but to call a religion, I mean, that's not a person. That's not. So a religion is an entity. It's not. So to respect and learn more about Muslims, and if you see a Muslim, you know, it's a God's religion. It's an Abrahamic religion. It is a continuation of a lot of similar beliefs, and always there is mention of history and things that have happened in the past. But there is a verse in the Quran that if you kill one person, it's like killing the entire humanity. Life is sacred, and to respect each other and to. So the first thing is to understand that it's a beautiful religion. It is fastest growing. It's worldwide. All religions started in the Middle East and then went east, and all religion get together. They live together. I went to a convent school. I was a Muslim in Pakistan, where only 3% Christians are there, but the convent schools are thriving. The divide has been more recently because of political and other reasons. But people have lived. I mean, Islam is 1400, we are in the year 1441 since the birth of Islam in the 7th century. So it's been there, and people have tolerated, and if they've learned each other. And what happens is, if you compare and talk to Muslims, then you grow your own faith, you get stronger, and you learn more about your own faith, that yes, I do it this way for this reason. The Central Mosque, we would love for you all to come, and then just camaraderie. I mean, friendliness, to see a smiling face. And this is again a saying of the Prophet, peace be upon him, that a smile is a charity. You don't necessarily need money or donations, but yeah, having food. So we open up the mosque during what is called the Post and Career started this tour of sacred places, and we are one of that they had to postpone in April. They won't be able to do it this year, but that just brings joy, you know. Like they say, laughter is the best medicine. So so staying happy and knowing that people are your friends, it's just very nice, rather than people scorning at you or saying, who are you? I mean, everybody's same. It's very similar in their thoughts and actions. Thank you.
Dr. Javed, I'm going to throw up what you just referenced really quickly. Can you see that? Right, so it came out just a couple days ago, and the lead picture is the Post and Courier is saying, kind of like just right now, like in response to Pi's question, which is just be aware of what different faiths are doing. So the lead picture on this is from last year's Spirited Brunch. So it's enticing people to think about, enticing people to think about food, and people can then travel from house of worship to house of worship, and then maybe have a little conversation or chit chat. And then you just kind of scroll down, and it goes on and on and on with all sorts of different faiths. Right. So I'll share
part of this, later. Yes. And then also they've done a very good coverage of the festival, the Eid. I was quoted actually on this Hannah Raskin, that we have a big feast at the mosque, and everybody is invited. If you sometimes, because we follow the lunar calendar, it may not fall on a Saturday, on a weekend. But if it's on a weekend, those Eid celebrations are open to all, and it's usually a brunch that we have after our morning prayers. So that's a lot of joy and fun to have you all visit us. That would be the best thing. Is Kessler your son?
Yes, my daughter. Yep.
Sorry, Kessler is a female. Some names are so unisex.
True. Dr. Javed, you've been very generous with your time. This is the last call for any other questions for Dr. Javed before she concludes her time here. And just know, if a question occurs to you later, you can email me, or I can connect you with Dr. Javed, and you can pose those to her.
Absolutely.
Last call.
Do want to wish all the seniors a very happy graduation. Enjoy. I went through that. There was a war in Pakistan when I was graduating, and we did not have a ceremony. But then after that, I had a few others. So we made up.
Okay. Thank you for today. That remark about the war thing was very interesting for context. I read a piece today talking about this woman was remarking how her father had started college and World War II happened, and how that just derailed everything. And she was explaining that to her son, who is losing his graduation. But there's these momentous moments that occur in our families.
A lot of us have been through that over the years. Yes, different situations, but good things come. Just be optimistic. Definitely, you know, like they say, there is dawn, and every cloud has a silver lining. There's so many sayings, and we all have witnessed that at our old age. So, and you guys too, I'm sure there have been times that you have been sad, but then things get better. But definitely, as a doctor, I'll say, and as a mother, I mean, I encourage everyone to go out, especially like we say, it's a beautiful day in South Carolina. Today is, and there's so many this time of the year. I mean, I'm so grateful to God that it is in March and April that we are in this pandemic. I mean, we are not cooped up in the cold winter days when we cannot get. So get out, I mean, breathe the fresh air and make the most of it. There's so much, find new hobbies. Mine has become gardening, and I've made a compost pile, and I'm doing vegetables. It's just too much fun in one way.
Oh my goodness, that's great. Well, so what we're going to do now is we're just going to say goodbye to you. The kids are going to turn on their videos and they're going to wave and say thanks. And then I'll see everybody else at 3 o'clock when we have our telemedicine session. But Dr. Javed, thank you so much for talking to us about Islam.
Thank you so much.
Finally. Thank you.
Principal